You know, there are two words, the homeo and the status. Homeo is actually the word homo, which means similar or same. And status is actually the condition or a state. So actually, before coming to the definition, I will tell you how actually the homeostasis works. You know, in a hot summer day, when you are standing outside in a 42 degrees centigrade temperature, you know your actual body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. And we also know this principle that heat moves from hotter region to the colder region. So we will actually gain heat. And when we gain heat, our body starts to sweat. And that sweat is actually a response which shows us that our body is getting heated up. And that response, that sweating, is a form of homeostasis to maintain the balance, to maintain the equilibrium in the body. So the definition of homeostasis: the maintenance of a constant internal environment. The maintenance of constant internal environment. Constant means remaining the same, keeping the same limit, keeping the same values. And when I talk about internal environment, we have two things actually: the internal environment and external environment. And internal environment is actually within our body, within the cells, within our body. You can say inside our body is internal environment, inside the body, or you can say within the cells, or even inside the cells. We will study about details in later chapters. And if I talk about external environment, so external environment, like if I'm standing in this room and the temperature of this room is 26 degrees centigrade, so this is external environment. So in this external environment, which is 26 degrees centigrade, and I'm not sweating because the temperature is very moderate. So my body does not need to maintain this. Okay, now we know what is homeostasis. We know the difference between internal and external environment. We know what is actually the internal and external environment is with examples. Now coming to the next thing. We have an example of penguins. You know, penguins live in Antarctica, some of them. And the temperature, we all know in Antarctica, the temperature is about less than -40 degrees centigrade, which is huge. This is a drastic amount of temperature they are living in, and they are surviving in that temperature. And you know that the temperature of the body temperature of penguins is 38 degrees centigrade. They have a constant body temperature. Just like us, we have 37 degrees centigrade temperature. They have 38 degrees centigrade temperature. And penguins, let me remember, penguins are birds. We are mammals. So birds and mammals have a constant amount of temperature. So they have to maintain that temperature. Now, when it comes to penguin and how do they survive? The question is, how do they survive? So the important thing, they live in groups. And you know, we have been doing this thing in winters. We live in crowded rooms. You know, when we feel cold, we go into the blankets. And what actually they do, when they live in the groups, they trap the heat. And one important thing, we all know that our bodies are constantly producing heats. And so that we maintain 37 degrees centigrade. If we produce more heat, that extra heat will be liberated outside the body. And if we produce less heat, our body will tend to produce more heat by different mechanisms. So when I talk about penguins, and they are living in Antarctica in a minus 40 degrees centigrade, and they are surviving without any jacket or a sweater. So this is the only thing that they are doing. So, and another thing, they also have a fat layer. They don't have a fur, they have a fat layer. That fat, when that fat is metabolized, and that metabolism produces heat. And in fact, when fats are metabolized, they produce a lot amount of heat. And that heat is actually useful even for us. Okay,